begin our flagship marketing event by invoking blessings from Goddess Saraswati.
कुन्देन्तु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः दैवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा.
Thank you, Nidhi. May I now request our convener, Dr. Dhanashri Pote, to give the inaugural speech.
Thank you, Dylan. A very good morning to everybody present here. On behalf of DSIMS and DSGS and the entire team Touge 2022, I extend a wholehearted welcome to each one of you present online for this webinar conclave, Reimagining Marketing in the New Normal, Challenges and Solutions. Let me start with a small note. When we all were struck with this COVID-19 pandemic, we saw that it has severely impacted all individuals and organizations, and it implied a lot of change in market dynamics. When you look at the review of literature, it states that the consumers and organizations employed innovative business transaction modes to cope up with all these unprecedented marketplace conditions which took place. We also found that relationships between businesses and consumers were changing very fast because of this COVID-19 lockdowns and social distancing protocols. Also, we found that behavioral market dynamics throughout the pandemic shifted and got redefined. Consumers went to new platforms, no contact methods via e-commerce and home delivery. Also, they tried a lot of new to them products like face shield, masks, sprays, sanitizers, and they used all the emerging technologies like smartphones and mobile apps to venture and get a new experience, consumer experience. So this convenience of online shopping motivated the consumers to continue with these newly acquired habits. So we will see from our esteemed panelists whether these pandemic things are going to stay, or is it going to be a new normal. So today's conclave, we want to have a discussion on this pandemic in terms of identifying what are the emerging patterns in consumer behavior, along with whatever transformation is taking place in the market, the marketing models, and to cope up with these changes, how consumers are going to cope up. So we need a new perspective on customer-centric themes of doing business and how it should be integrated. So our esteemed panel who has assembled here are going to deliberate on this, that how the pandemic has changed the marketing strategies for product services, and are going to update us on this. So we are all excited and looking forward to hear from our esteemed marketing experts for this conclave. The speakers which are lined up today are Dr. Praful Agnihotri, Mr. N. Chandramouli, Mr. Burzin Shahana, and Mr. Vishnu Swash. A very, very warm welcome to all of you, sir. And also a very warm welcome to our directors, Dr. Babu and Dr. Sarita Vichore, respected faculty members, and my dear staff, students, and alumni. We are very delighted to have you here, and you certainly are the biggest reasons why our esteemed panelists are here today to deliver their views. So we are certain that as the conclave unfolds, there will be a lot of learning and takeaways for each one of you. We also receive with gratitude the tremendous encouragement that your presence has brought us, brings us here today. So Team Touge would like to give you your full attention to the speakers. Team Touge, I request you to give you your full attention to the speakers. Thank you, and over to Dylan.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request our Director DSIMS, Dr. C. Babu, to address this event.
Thank you. Thank you, Dylan. The convener of this conclave, Dr. Dhanashree, the HOD of Marketing Department, Dr. Chandrasekhar Kaushik, my fellow director, Dr. Sarita Vichore, our keynote speaker, Dr. Prafulla Agnihotri, Mr. N. Chandramouli, Mr. Barzin Sahana, Mr. Vishnu Swash, all three our esteemed guests, my fellow faculty colleagues, invited guests, students and student volunteers. Thank you so much for inviting both the directors for this occasion. This is one event we would look forward to. We have already done 10 such conclaves. This conclave is very special. The reason is this is online. It's unlike our offline conclave. But then the topic is something I am really connected with. It's time to reimagine marketing. Reimagining marketing in new normal, challenges, strategies, and solutions. I'm reminded of a well-known cartoonist who coined a term called skill stacking. So these business schools where you may be spending 11 months or 2 years, depending on the program, most of the business schools, they help students to stack your skill one after the other. The skill may be communication skill, personal branding, socializing skill, networking skill. I think you can keep on adding it. But what's very important is after completing your 2 years, you become a product to fit into any organization. That is very critical because whatever you learn, beyond that, you need to learn so many things. That is where the challenge comes because the situation is never constant. It keeps changing. So you need to reorient yourself to new challenges. So therefore, new strategies and therefore new solutions. So how do you equip yourself to face new challenges and to design new strategies? That is where these kinds of conclaves come in handy. What I like particularly here, we have a keynote speaker who's a seasoned academician. These academicians are well known for assimilating and disseminating. Let me take, 30 seconds to say what is assimilating and disseminating. Academicians are very good to assimilate things from practitioners. So today we have got 3 industry practitioners. They are the one, they give us what is happening in the industry. So academicians are good at assimilating. And then our job is to disseminate. So who else can be the best fit for this keynote speaker? I'm very happy, Dr. Prafulla, very glad to have you with us and addressing students as well as all the others. And at the same time, I like to thank Mr. Chandramouli, Mr. Barzin, and Mr. Vishnu. I don't want to take much time. We, the faculty members, like students, we eagerly wait and look forward to the 2 cents that you give it to us to help our skills to be stacked, like what Scott Adams said. So with that note, I once again welcome everybody. Thank you so much and wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request our director, DSGS, Dr. Sarita Vichore, to address this event.
Thank you. A very good morning and a warm welcome to the eminent experts, Dr. Prafulla Agnihotri, our keynote speakers, our panelists. We have N. Chandramouli, we have Mr. Barzin Sahana, Mr. Vishnu Swash. Thank you for taking out time from a busy schedule to enlighten our students and audience today. Warm wishes of the day to my co-director, Dr. Babu, the convener of the Marketing Conclave, Dr. Dhanashree, the HOD Marketing, Dr. Kaushik, senior faculty members, staff, and my very dear students and alumni who have gathered here today. This is the last conclave in the series of specialization conclaves. This initiative is a part of Industry Institute Partnership Cell, where the Institute and the academia sees that the industry comes together along with the academia and share their views. In the process, the students gained the required knowledge. I can see the topic of the conclave, reimagining marketing in the new normal, challenges, strategies, and solutions, very relevant topic. And the purpose is clearly mentioned when I went through the concept. This is to assemble the collection of high quality ideas that explore how this pandemic changed marketing strategies for products and services. We all are aware that the COVID-19 pandemic has abruptly altered all the consumer behaviors and attitudes, upending brands, marketing strategies, and plans. It's fair to say that we already know central disruptive shifts that would influence customers and consumers' attitudes and behaviors post the pandemic. While going through some literature, the first thing that I saw was digital shopping is here to stay. So a huge increase of around 169% in e-commerce purchase from new or low frequency users post outbreak. We see the trend continuing post COVID times too. The second is the brand loyalty is eroding. Almost half of consumers are trying new brands, and a third are incorporating new private label brands into their shopping repertoire. So for marketeers, this highlights the need to quickly become aware of when the shoppers are migrating between brands. And the third very important point that's picking up is balancing sustainability and hygiene when we are looking at the marketeers' thought process. Since digital shopping is here to stay, there was some reports, as academicians, I am also an academician. So when we are looking through reports, there are a few points that struck me, especially looking at this topic. The first was that social media accounts and websites will most likely be the primary touch point for brands. Content delivery will be based on need and value provided, and constant observation of changing consumer behaviors will be paramount. Innovation in business process is more critical now than ever before, and brands will have to establish multi-channel marketing strategies. So when I'm talking of multi-channel marketing strategies, we are talking of branding through multiple platforms such as the social media, the websites, the paid ads, influencers, virtual events, game, etc. So looking at the scenario, which is changing very fast post-pandemic, what is important is to bridge the gap of skilling the students we have in the class, that is the management students, to take on this challenge ahead. So the future marketing professionals then need to look up and upskill in becoming social media marketers, digital media marketers, SEO strategists, the search engine optimization strategist, the content strategist, web developer, data analysts, augmented reality or virtual reality developer. So looking at the whole scenario, what we can say is COVID-19 has changed consumer expectations. Today, they don't want to see marketeers persuading them to purchase something that doesn't offer value. So brands are understanding this and incorporating the sentiment in their strategies. Thus, the reimagining marketing in the new normal, challenges, strategies, and solutions would be an interesting discussion. I congratulate Dr. Dhanashree and Team Touge for the wonderful initiative. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Dr. C. Babu to felicitate our keynote speaker, Dr. Prafulla Agnihotri, with a bouquet of flowers.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. Sarita Vichore to felicitate our esteemed panelist, Mr. N. Chandramouli, with a bouquet of flowers.
Very warm welcome, Mr. Chandramouli.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Dr. Chandrasekhar Kaushik to felicitate our esteemed panelist, Mr. Gurzeen Shahana, with a bouquet of flowers.
Welcome, Mr. Burjin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Dr. Dhanashri Poti to felicitate our esteemed panelist, Mr. Vishnu Swash, with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome, Mr. Vishnu.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It gives us immense pleasure to welcome all our dignitaries, invitees, respected faculty members, esteemed alumni, and all our fellow students. Today, we have with us some of the distinguished alumni of corporate world to share their insight with us. And it's time to welcome them. I request Dylan to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Over to you, Dylan.
Thank you, Nilay. I would now like to introduce you all to our keynote speaker for the day, Dr. Prafulla Agnihotri. Dr. Prafulla Agnihotri holds a master's degree in management studies and PhD in international marketing strategy in the area from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. He has about 10 years of experience in the industry in sales, marketing and training, and over 21 years of experience in academics. He was a professor in marketing group at Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta for about 15 years. He was also the chairperson of Career Development and Placement Cell at IIM Calcutta during 2008 to 2010. During 2011 to 2017, he was appointed as the founder director of IIM Trichy by the Ministry of HRD. He teaches courses in marketing management, international marketing, services marketing, and strategic brand management. He has co-authored a book titled Principles of Marketing with Philip Kotler, Northwestern University, USA, and Gary Armstrong, University of North Carolina, USA, which has been published by Pearson Education. He was a visiting faculty with Euromed, Marcel Provence, and Serum, Sophia Antipolis, France, and taught courses of marketing, international business, and international HRM to their students of MBA. His latest innovation in teaching is application of inquiry method of learning to the management education, where the students are encouraged to ask questions and learn by inquiring about the knowledge.
He was declared the best teacher in marketing management at 16 Business School Affair and Devang Mehta Business School Awards on September 2008, and was also a recipient of the Best Professor in Marketing Award at Asia's Best B School Award at Singapore. Considering his long tenure and achievements in the field of management education, he was felicitated at the World Education Congress with an award for outstanding contribution for education by CIMA and the Asian Confederation of Businesses. He is a member of Indian Society of Applied Behavioral Science, New Delhi, and is a consultant on the panel of Export-Import Bank of India. Apart from being on advisory board editorial panel of 3 business schools, he has served on several committees of Ministry of HRD, AICTE, and National Board of Accreditation. He was also a MHRD nominee member of the Society of IIM Kozhikode. He served 2 terms on the board of SBI Funds Management Private Limited as an independent director. I now call upon Professor Prafulla Agnihotri to deliver his keynote address.
Sir, unmute, sir. You're not audible.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mili. Thank you, Dylan. And thank you all. And thank you very much, my friend, Dr. Dhanashri Pote, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all. I would prefer, as a keynote speaker, I would just introduce the theme, introduce the topic, just say my 2 cents, and I would love to conclude after listening to our industry panelists. Because I always say marketing is a practitioner subject. We learn from the practitioners and try to teach the same thing in the class. And that's why we encourage faculty members to write case studies, do consulting assignments, and so on. Management as a field actually follows industry. It learns from industry and then convert it into theories of management. So I remember when the moment I saw this theme, I remembered one sentence, a quote from Richard Lowe of Hewlett Packard. And he had said, and I quote, "The pace of change is so rapid that the ability to change has now become a competitive advantage." And it is so true today, okay, especially in this post-COVID era. It has become a new normal. In fact, I had never heard these words to the new normal before 2019. Okay. What is this new normal? And how are the marketeers coping up with them? Let us see that. And maybe I would request my industry experts, Mr. Burzin Shahana and Vishnu Swash and others, to participate, to speak there, to give their comments on that. And maybe I would love to conclude with my speech. And if, of course, Dr. Dhanashri Pote allows me, I have made few slides today morning. And since we got delayed, I had time to put them over here. Okay. So would like to share them a little later.
Yes, sir.
If with your permission, may I invite Dr. Burzin Shahana to give his comments, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen first. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes. If you can make it full screen.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it
Yes.
visible now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, and extremely happy, and it's a pleasure to be with you all. Love being with faculty members and students. Makes you feel a little young. The topic that is there for today's talk in the next 20 minutes, I was thinking whether I should dwell on one particular aspect in detail or should I touch fleetingly on many of the subjects. But the phenomenal impact of this COVID on all of us in the last couple of years has been so profound that there is a very significant amount of ground that needs to be covered to get a fair idea. So I decided to be a little more broad and try to simplify this very complex subject. So in the next 20 minutes, let me share my thinking on this. And because this is something which in a century has a profound impact on how we live, how we think, how we carry our work in day-to-day life. So a very, very life-changing event. We are all witness to this, and let's see how we come out of this and what we do. I've spent 30 years in the industry, and I've been associated with a lot of pharma organizations and medical device organizations. Currently, I represent Johnson & Johnson. And the pandemic hit at the core of health and wellness because that's what got impacted. Everything else is an offshoot of this impact. And let me try and draw the canvas for you as to what's the canvas that we are looking at. We're looking at a broad canvas of health and wellness. Health is nothing but a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely an absence of disease. And if you pull that corollary to wellness, it's actually not only absence of disease, but how do you reach your full potential? How do you ensure that you are working at your best, your life to the fullest? And wellness, again, has got multiple dimensions, be it emotional, a lot of stress under which we are all working through, be it financial wellness, the whole aspect of how we work, how we share space with our fellow colleagues, that gets impacted. How we socially interact gives you social wellness. The environment in which we are operating impacts us intellectually and spiritually. So there's a very broad canvas on which all of us have got impacted in the last couple of quarters. Before we come to how the market and how the society at large should revert, let's look at a few trends, and I've tried to keep them very simple and try to dwell and raise some thoughts in your mind. And as I say, insights are something what is retrospectively self-evident. So when I share a trend and it resonates with you, it's good. It's retrospectively self-evident. So let's look at some of the trends. The first trend, Jaan hai to Zahan hai. People often fix alarm at night, taking it for granted that they will be alive next morning. But the COVID taught us that you cannot take this for granted. Survival is the first thing. And survival today means a lot. We have seen people with lots of assets, lots of influence, lots of resources, struggling on the streets, gasping for oxygen. And at that point in time, nothing matters but survival. And this has got a profound impact on the psyche of the humankind today, because all paradigms, all dimensions, all things that we took for granted, we took our health for granted, we took our life for granted, things have changed. So today survival has become a key aspect. It shows how vulnerable we are as a mankind. It shows how vulnerable the scientific faculty is. All our research, all our advancement in science came to a standstill because of this tiny virus. Fortunately, we've been able to get the vaccines and most of it is under control, but you never say till it's end of it. But today, bear in mind, whatever people took for granted, people know now that survival is the most important aspect of the life. Overnight, what we saw, that doctor was not the only source of information. Everybody went to internet to search and Google. So today people look at Google, understand something for half an hour, we come in presence of the doctor and ask the surgeon or the doctor a lot of questions as if they are experts. And everybody today, some way or the other, has become an expert on healthcare. So much of reading in the last 2 years people have done on the pandemic that everybody knows what is SpO2 and what should be the level and what kind of test needs to be done and what is D-dimer and what is some of the other tests. And practically everyone feels that they know a lot about medical and health. Good. Some of it may be right. Some of it may be half knowledge, and half truth is always more dangerous than no truth. But the fact of the matter is people feel, and people generally we observe now, everybody feels they know much more and they don't longer depend only on the doctor. And this is a very important trend or a behavioral shift we need to keep in mind as marketeers. Because as we resonate our message with our consumers, you don't know what's the background or what's the insight with which the consumer is coming to receive this message. But the fact of the matter is people have flocked to the internet to look at what is happening in the marketplace. Telemedicine has surged. At one point in time, the patient and the doctor always felt that it's important to always be physically examined by the doctor. But that paradigm has changed. The telemedicine market from $26 million has surged to almost $163 million, which is a multiple fold time, and it is likely to be almost $1 billion going forward. Similarly, the e-commerce on supplying of medication at home again has surged significantly, and digitalization in the doctor-patient relationship has completely changed in this given situation. So have the diagnostic sectors, which has been exploding. The diagnostic test market has again grown from 9.5 billion, which is growing at almost 11%. Everybody is aware now what kind of diagnostic test needs to be done. Every teleconsultation fires one prescription, and every 1 in 10 teleconsult prescription has a diagnostic test in it. The organized way in which the diagnostic center has grown up is significantly, and this sector again is likely to see huge amount of presence coming from very organized healthcare sectors and very government participation as well. So this is again something which is surged and going to increase with more participation from both private and government in this. Everybody wants to build immunity. Everybody. One survey said almost 92% of the households in the last 12 months have purchased a immunity building product. Everybody knows that if you want to fight disease, building your immunity is going to be of paramount importance. This has surged like unimaginable. Today, the health consciousness in what you eat, what you consume has been at record levels, much more than what you have seen in the last few decades. Government is also promoting a lot of immunity building through their own initiatives, through their own private health centers, through their own communication, through their own programs. And it's so important that India, which is a malnourished country, people don't have access to good food, people don't have access to good medication. The whole immunity building process has built up, and that process we feel is a long-term process, is here to stay. People are also moving towards more organic food. The organic market is almost a 2,000 crore market just in 1 year. We all know we consumed a lot of kadas and tulsis and whatnot and chawanprashes and everything. And everything that is organic is now considered to be a good, healthy food. This is completely changing the way people are living. People are managing the dietary habits. People are looking at the way they want to. Ayush, which is a Government of India initiative, is spreading a lot of awareness and promoting this around the organic stuff. Wearables and apps are gaining significant traction. Everybody wants to be fit. Everybody wants to be tracking them, monitoring their activities. There are skin apps which now monitor every aspect of your body function and send alerts to your doctors and surgeons. There are apps which don't want you to touch your face, and every time you touch your face, they alert you. So the way the wearables and the apps are going to increase is again something which is going to be worth noting. A lot of stress got created because of the because of the COVID, a lot of mental agony. People have seen their loved ones getting impacted. People have seen bad news is coming through. All this has profound impact on mental health. And mental health as a subject is now gaining importance and being openly talked. In India, this was considered to be taboo, but it is being openly talked, and we are glad because this needs to come out into open and this needs to be talked about. But this generation, which has got impacted by this COVID, is going to have a significant increase in mental disorders. We are already seeing this through trends of the sales of mental disorder medication and the increase in number of patients touching base with the physicians to take care of mental health. Similarly, occupational health will also demand a lot of attention. We saw recently the great attrition trend globally. People don't want to go physically to offices and work, and people have left jobs because for them, many times they thought it was important to work remotely, work from home. There's a mixed opinion on that. There's a hybrid culture that is coming up. But again, you need to give tremendous amount of attention to how your occupational health will take care. A lot of high-tech work is happening in terms of generating data, in terms of generating information. All this teleconsult medication, all the e-pharmacies, all the touch points, all the data to various apps that we are wearing, the implants that are happening are getting collected, and 5G is enabling that to take better decision making. When we started our career in the industry, we did not have data. We relied more on global data. We had no Indian data, but today a lot of data is coming up, and that's something that is going to help a lot of marketeers to base their decisions, because ultimately any decision making which is data based is going to be of great help. Robotics has increased in a big way in this country. For many surgeries today, we have robotics coming in. We have robotic applications happening, and we see a less and less human interface and more of machine and robotic interface in all aspects of healthcare, be it serving diagnostic, be it serving medication, be it serving surgery. There are bots which can diagnose even better than doctors today. So robotics are some things that are going to be very, very heavy in this area. Healthcare costs are going to go up. People are going to have to spend more because insurance costs will go up. People have understood how costly this whole aspect is. And of course, the last one I want to say is the spending and healthcare infrastructure in this country is improving. That's a good part of it. So you saw this, a lot of structured data is going to get collected and data will help in decision making. And as marketeers today, those who are now coming into the arena would have to build those skills of what is a meaningful data, how to meaningfully use it, and what best to do into doing this. So we've seen a lot of trends. Some of it we believe will continue. Some of it may change because human being wants to go back to their comfort zone. As marketeers, we need to really understand what do we need to do. So without getting into too much of a technical aspects of healthcare, and I can reserve that for some of the question answers, we believe that there are certain fundamental changes as marketeers we need to think and bring into our operations. What's the changing paradigm as a result of this? Knowing your customer is not enough. Knowing your customer segment is enough. E&Y did a survey, and it did survey in more than 20 countries with thousands of consumers, and how it impacted the COVID. And what's coming out is very clearly, there are, apart from your product messages, apart from your technical messages, there are certain core platforms which resonate with group of consumers. One of them is affordability. This whole idea of affordability, because of the tremendous amount of expenses that you have to spend, has come up. Health first. There is a segment which wants now to do good for the planet, environmentally conscious. There is a segment which says no, society first before anything else. And there is one segment which says experience, my personal experience first. So it's very important that whatever messages that we send out, even in most technical field, the way in which I represent, it's very scientific. You still need to ensure that you are resonating with one of these cohorts, and you don't know your target customer belongs to which cohort. And that's where the challenge of the marketer comes in. Competition will not just be with your competitors. Typically, we want to fight for market share. We want to fight with our competitors. But today, with your last best experience your customer had with you, Gen Z grew up with technology which is seemingly integrated into our lives. But when coronavirus hit, digital transformation accelerated overnight. This in turn has created a super expectation amongst the consumers. One wrong interaction with the consumer and you switch off the consumer, and the consumer switches back onto another platform. So you are not only fighting with your competitors, but you are also fighting with your own experience. One bad experience and the person moves away. It's now important to manage both physical and digital world. It's courtship after marriage. Acquiring a customer, acquiring a consumer is a very costly proposition. But what is most important is how do you ensure that you keep the consumer with you? How do you build relationship, and how do you ensure that every need of the consumer is taken care of? We need to be mindful of what they want, and the want and their expectation of the consumer has skyrocketed. And if you don't fulfill, there are 10 other people who are there to fulfill it. So one needs to be constantly looking at how do I fulfill every need of my consumer. Consumer is not only at the core of your strategy, consumer is also has to be at the heart of your consumer journey. It's important not to be static with the consumer, but ensure that you are partnering with the consumer at every stage, at every aspect of the journey. So we in ophthalmology look at how you look at newborns to geriatric people, be it retina, be it glaucoma, be it cataract, be it refractive, be it contact lenses, and then you map the entire consumer journey and you see how you are going to take care. So that's again very, very important. Relationships matter. Relationships are based on trust, and trust happens by repeatedly providing what you promise. Every time the experience of the consumer is better than the expectation, the trust gets reinforced. People are looking for trust-free relationship, and without building trust, as one of the speakers before me said, people will become less and less brand conscious and brand loyal. Fleeting of brands, changing and switching brands is very, very easily done today. So it's important that you build trust for creating that stickiness. And most important, how do you ensure that your brand stands not only for the physical product, but also for the value? It's important that in today's generation, the new generation looks for what you are doing to create value in terms of what is your value system. Creating value is one thing, but sticking to your value system and living it on your value system is so very important. So these were some of the changing paradigms which we see and which we practice on a daily basis in our professional lives, which I thought would be important for you to understand the kind of thinking that is going behind in some of the organizations around the world. With this, thank you very much, and all you young generation colleagues, wish you all the best as you step out into your future. I tried to stick to my time. I'm 3 minutes more than my given time, so my apologies, and thank you very much.
Very nice person. Very nice.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable insight. I would like to give small introduction of Burzeen Shahana, sir. Mr. Burzeen is Country Manager, India and South Asia, Johnson & Johnson Vision, which include a broad ophthalmology portfolio across the areas of cataract refractive surgery and dry eye. Having joined Piramal Healthcare in 2004, became part of Abbott Healthcare post-acquisition of the business in 2010. Abbott is one of India's largest pharma players, and Mr. Burzeen has held leadership position, managing the largest franchisee at Abbott. He has to his credit nurturing more than 15 brands which are in the list of top 300 brands of the India pharma industry. Mr. Shahana has also held senior position in commercial operation, sales and marketing at Ranbaxy, Knoll and Lupin. Mr. Burzeen earned a bachelor's degree in pharmacy and master's in management studies from NMIMS University of Mumbai. Has also completed executive education at ISB and NCR. Once again, I would like to thank Mr. Burzeen, sir, for sharing his valuable insight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would now like to introduce you all to our next panelist, Mr. N. Chandramouli. Mr. N. Chandramouli is the founder, CEO of TRA Research and Blue Lotus Communication. He has been an entrepreneur for most of his 32-year career and founded the Omniscient Group 20 years ago. The Omniscient Group created India's first media analytic company, Blue Bytes. Another group company, Blue Lotus Communications, has been awarded Agency of the Year by 3 different reputed organizations in 3 years. TRA Research is a consumer insight and brand analytics company, which has been measuring trust and desire of brands through syndicated research in 16 cities for the last 10 years. TRA Research is also the publisher of TRA's Brand Trust Report and TRA's Brand Desire Report. Now, I call upon Mr. N. Chandramouli to deliver his address. So please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really appreciate the time, appreciate the audience and the panelists. And Burzeen, what you just said resonates so much, especially what you said in the last part. And what you said in the first part resonates in a different manner. So being very closely involved with healthcare. In fact, the company that you are with, we've handled or worked with 8 divisions of J&J, worked with several others in that sense. So it kind of resonated in every part of what we do. But what you said in the, I think 3 or 4 slides before, you said thank you, was about trust. And we have been researching trust since almost 2007, understanding what is the basic transaction called trust. Why do people trust something else? And we have then created a matrix which is extremely intricate. And now we have been using it for the last 11 years in order to be able to publish reports. And if you've read reports about some brand being the most trusted, it's largely coming from our stable. But that said, trust is a most important ingredient now, in the past, and going in the future. So how does the paradigm change? So before I wanted to talk about the new normal, maybe we should talk about the old normal. And a little bit of statements there from my own experiences I'll share. So some things that have been in the marketing department or marketing, in the purview, have to do with what is generally known as the brand. It is supposed to be taking care of the custodian of the brand is the marketing department. But unfortunately, if you were to ask anybody, as to how do you measure this marketing department, you will invariably have a metric of sale around it, sale somewhere or the other. Something has to grow, something has to increase in number. Whereas brand itself is not something that necessarily has to grow in number. It has to grow in perception, it has to grow in the minds of people, an aspect not so easy to measure. So therefore, the measurement metrics that we have. So one of the challenges that has always been in the past is the fact that marketing and sales have been intertwined into, and there are some designations that says marketing and sales. In my opinion, and with all humility, I'll say that they are actually not even to be put on the same plate. They are an antithesis to each other. In fact, I would say that marketing and sales are two different opposite parts of the spectrum. And if you want to take a look at it, it's like having two gurus. One is the spiritual guru who teaches you about how do you gain in spirit, and the other is this monetary guru who teaches you how to grow in money. And if you look at it, marketing is like that spiritual guru. I mean, if I may use that kind of analogy very loosely, the point being made is that if you compare to a person character, then that is what the brand is. That's what you're building, truly speaking. And if you compare to a person what money they have, that's exactly what we're talking about sales. And therefore, oftentimes, while they can be kind of converging at some points, but there are many times when they are completely divergent to each other. So that's one important change from the past that we will see in the future, in my opinion. And I will give you some reasons for that. It is impossible. I mean, you try your might and tell people to have a metric which is only brand dependent, which is only perception dependent, invariably, because the world is focused on quarter-on-quarter results. Everybody wants to see a growth, and not always does perception lead to that. Not always does brand lead to that. There can be ups and downs. And that being the case, one of the major challenges that we are going to probably get over is because marketing will become more prominent. I will tell you why I mean that. There are several things that have come together. COVID is one of them. 2-year lockdown is the accompanying problem that came with it. But there are several things that are happening alongside that. One also Burzen touched upon, which is 5G. But I think it is going to be one of the seminal forces that will help convert, I would not say online, but I would say virtual experiences of anything. So people as well as various other aspects as well. The second, a little earlier than that, is about blockchain. And that is another big thing that's changing the way, in fact, contracts and marketing are done, the way that celebrity endorsements are being managed by brands and other things, and many more in terms of this, distributed ledger, which is almost unfathomable and cannot be, every change can be tracked, is working in various ways and various wonders. Adaptations of that are like the NFT. You may all think that NFT is like this fancy little painting that somebody has bought for a few $1 million, but there are practical applications of NFT, and that's another change with technology that we'll find marketing change. So you'll not necessarily have to have a sales metric for marketing, just to touch upon the earlier analogy, but you'll end up seeing that marketing will start making an impact because you'll start seeing usage. The technology of big data, again, Burzen touched upon that, is the fact that you can now analyze so much of data in so little, such a small computing, kind of a unit, that you're able to capture much and you're able to process more. So you know where that brand interaction is happening. So why did sales become a metric for this particular aspect called brand or marketing? Is because there was the difficulty of measurement, of anything else with accuracy and being able to say that. So how do you measure an emotional outcome? You can't go to 10,000 people while they are buying and ask them for an emotional outcome and expect it to be right. But you have many structures coming in which allow the use of, the AI is coming into the same face. You can almost read an emotion from a face today if you're in front of a screen, and several others like that. So these few things coming together are definitely going to change the measurement of the way that marketing will happen. And I see more and more a distancing between the function of marketing and the function of sales with distinct identities. And I would say hopefully in the near future, and I say hopefully because I do expect it and want it as well, that these two units will be as separate units, and you'll never see a marketing and sales function together in the future, I hope. So that's one change that I do see over here. The other is the way that metrics will change. So people ask me, because we've been coming out with this report of trust for the last 11 years, and they say, has trust changed over the years? Has it changed when it was in 2011 when we launched the first report to 2022 when we launched the report a couple of weeks back? So it's like this. I explain it to them like this. So has love changed? Has this emotion called love changed? While what you love may change and how much you love may change, but the emotional response to love is almost similar throughout the ages, maybe even much before we were civilized. So similarly, trust also has not changed. So the context of trust doesn't change. But what will change is the way that we or brands will start looking at the consumer. So terms that you often see used by the brand or the organization towards the consumer, and you might have heard it some places, even in your marketing classes. One would be something like a share of wallet, something maybe to do with brand loyalty. Somebody mentioned a little while ago, is the customer loyalty, is the customer loyal? I think these are terms that are anathema. Anathema. I mean, if you look at share of wallet, just to give you two examples, there are many more I can talk about. Share of wallet is a term that says that what is the share of wallet that I have of the customer? It is almost, the term is so intrusive. The term is so, I would say, actually speaking as if I'm going to pick out from the pocket of the customer money. The very term, thoughts, words, action, and destiny are all connected. Similarly, if the thought is in that manner, that says that share a wallet, you think, how do I take it? Rather, it is no longer that. It is not about that. It is about not even the share of mind. It's about saying how much space is the customer or the consumer willing to give me. All the aspect that Burzen said is so correct. Rapid change is happening. People don't have, the second word, in fact, Burzen also mentioned it, but I'll say it in a different context, is customer loyalty. In this, all of you would have read it and know it also. It means that how loyal is the customer. Now look at the oddity of the word. Oddity of the word is that while the customer is the payer, he pays, he chooses at times, and the brand provides the product or the service. But you expect the customer to be loyal. It is so unfortunate. It is actually the opposite. The brand has to be loyal to the customer. That's where the change will be seen tomorrow. Where the brand, all that has been stated so far, at least, and maybe in the next few half an hour or so, will essentially be about how does the brand become loyal. It ought to be about saying that I am going to be your loyal partner, and you request the customer to, part with his money for whatever he wants to give for. And in that process, this loyalty is not dissimilar to two friends, to two partners, to a couple. It's like that. A brand reflects, just as much as any other human does, a behavior set, which is easily observable, but subtly. Easily because they know, customers know. And if a brand is trying to be over the top sale type, which means I am trying to intrude into you. So I just give you a small example briefly. So I got off in Bombay this morning. I came this morning to Delhi. But I got off in Bombay to the wrong terminal. I actually had cancelled my Air India, and I took a go first today. So when I did that, I forgot which terminal it was. It was T1 or T2. So I went to T2, and by the way, that guy told me you're on the wrong one. So my car had already left. So I rushed into the cab that was next door. 3 cab drivers came to me running, saying, "Ki aapko jana hai kya?" So I said, no, I didn't even look at them. So my cab driver asked me, you know what? They were running behind you. You didn't go there. And you sat in my car, which I was not even asking for you. And just intuitively, I'm telling you, I told him only one thing. I'm not happy with the guys who run after. It seems as if it's too much of a push. And I'm just bringing that in a very vague context here, but to bring you the anecdote that says that if brands run after you and the customer notices, it's like a mall you're running after and everybody's saying, come to my place, come to my place, come to my place. You ignore. The customer ignores. Today's customer, about 65% of the country is below 35 or something. That seems to be the statistic. They are into a new generation of at least the ways that my white hair, Brazilian white hair, all that is we are a different generation. We have to learn. We have to learn, and we have to, everybody who's heading a organization as big as J&J and PwC and others are all us, right? We are not the generation of 60% of the people of the country. So it is the brand custodians. We have to learn this. We have to learn technology. I mean, how many of us would know NFT just like that within the panelist sector? Whereas how many of the students would know NFT just like that? Because of the difference in the absorption of technology that's happening. The osmosis of technology with children starting at 3 is the osmosis of knowledge that happens at our vintage, the panelist vintage. So what I'm trying to say is that if technology and knowledge don't integrate together, now you have heard of something called a metaverse. I'm sure everybody is saying what the hell and what is happening, and many of you are even thinking it's we're going to have avatars online and it's going to do things online. What a stupid thing some people think. Some people think, wow, what fun thing, we'll play games. But the way brands will change in that environment and the marketing will change in that environment is going to be phenomenal. If we think that metaverse is not going to happen, then we are probably in a little bit of a denial, because it is bound to happen, whether it happens now or a little later, depending on how far that interoperability of technologies between the metaverse happens. Soon you will see people looking at something on the metaverse and looking at it with a positive sense, and in a physical sense purchase it. May or may not purchase it. The positive intent would happen at a metaverse. So as prolific as the internet is today, give it a decade, and I have no doubts that will be a place which you will all the brands will have to adapt, as much as they've had to adapt something as banal and simple as social media. If you told us 10 years ago, the more older generation of people in brands, and you told us that there's somebody who's going to chat with you and you're going to talk to so many people online, you would have said it doesn't even sound interesting. But it's one of the most prolific. It's a country in itself. Each one of them is a country in itself. It's like you're discussing an open country with loudspeakers. So that's what's happened. I think that's one major change that we have to adapt. So I'm coming to 2 parts. So the way to summarize this entire thing is in 2 broad segments. One is the fact that what we measure, we will improve, we understand. And therefore, we need to find the right metrics for brands over a sustainable period of time that's immutable, that doesn't change. And in my belief, it is going to be brand trust. So how do you maintain trust with the ongoing changing, kind of an audience mindsets? Not just audiences are changing, but audience mindsets are changing. The small little new exposures changes the entire generation of a mindset. So those things happen. At the same time, I want to put a word of caution that technologies, not all of them are successful. So some of them come and go quickly. So brands have to be willing to experiment. And when they experiment, that means they have to be willing to fail. Brands are not used to fail. I'm not kidding, and I'm sure other esteemed panelists will agree. Brands abhor failure. That means if there's a failure, it would probably, and if it's a large failure, then I don't mean any crisis, but I mean a failure of a brand, which means in marketing terms or some other terms, it can become a discussion of the boardroom, probably. But when you look at it in terms of new areas which you've never experimented, either you come late on the bandwagon, which means too late. There are brands which are still climbing onto social media, right? They still have not done it for so many years and saying, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done it 5-7 years ago. If they don't experiment, they will, and therefore, if they don't have the ability to think that failure is okay and accept failure, they will not be able to move on to the new age, and they'll be too late. Remember that as much as the Moore's law works in chips, which is semiconductor chips, which is doubling the capacity every 1.5 years or so, the technology changes, and not just speed. I'm not talking about anything numerical. Technology changes are going to be so rapid that the last 10 years will be compressed into the next 1 year. We saw some things about augmented and virtual reality. Metaverse is promising to change that. You will be able to do anything in that sense. So you will have so many new things. So one of the changes I do seek after the fact that the singular metric of brands should be brand trust, which is how brand trust is essentially what is the value of exchange. And Burzin said that it is about the completion of a promise or expectations of a promise, and you ensure that you do that. But that expectation set changes, the audience set changes, and even within your own audience set or cohort, it just completely changes for them. And therefore, you need to have an immutable kind of a metric, which is only brand related, does not have a sales relationship to it. And sales should be another metric for the company, and these are all organizational metrics. So you must feed into the company. The third is to do with what I said, which is to do with ready to fail in new experiments. Decide that there might be failure and decide what you do in that case. And therefore, this will make the brands more nimble. Today, brands are not nimble. Large brands, I mean, small brands are nimble. Nimble meaning quickly adapt, change, this, that, the other. So the nimbleness will come from this risk-taking ability, in my opinion. So I think that's another change that I see in brands coming up. And the last of it is to largely do it with the sense of, consider, if you say customer-centric, a brand, I mean, many brands, okay, let me be a little bit more lesser there in that forcefulness. We say we are customer-centric. Every brand says, I mean, we deal with about 1,000 brands in a year. We list the 1,000 most trusted brands in the country and we talk to them. I talk to about 300 to 400 brands in a year. Everybody universally says customer-centric. But dig a little deeper, I mean, they are brand-centric. The truthful answer, you look at the mirror and answer to yourself. At that time, you know that this brand is only brand-centric. Customer centricity is a way of saying that I will please the customer where I want, provided I get the money. It's always provided I get the money. And that I feel is a very, it's going to change. Either the brand changes or the customer will change the brand. It's a very simple thing in my own opinion. And brand has started mattering in places where it never used to matter. I mean, if you go in for something that's going to be something that you don't even see, it's at the back. I mean, cement is becoming foreground brand. It's now a brand that's very well publicized. Commercial trucking is going on to regular advertising with endorses. So you see everything wanting to promote its brand, which is the internal soul, as you mentioned, which is absolutely true. A brand for us is an idea with a soul. That's what we say in TRA. We say it's an idea with a soul, and that means like a human being can or any other living being can kind of transmit from one body to the other, or a gene to gene. There's multiplication happening. In the mind, in a brand, it happens from the brand mean to brand mean. It has to reside over here. I believe that's the last change that I wanted to talk about. That about summarizes what I wanted to say. I hope it was useful. Don't want to keep it too long. Happy to answer any questions after this if you have any. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving ahead, I would now like to introduce our next panel member, Mr. Vishnu Swash. Mr. Vishnu Swash is a partner in Microsoft Technology Practice, leading the customer relationship management and channel management solution, and it's based out of Mumbai. He has more than 19 years of experience in consulting and enterprise solutions. His areas of focus have been to drive technology-led front office transformation in focused sectors of auto, retail and distribution, healthcare, and financial services. He advises clients on using technology for key business impact areas around customer experience, operational efficiency, and revenue growth. He has led several marquee engagements of high complexity with cross-functional teams for domestic and network clients in industry like auto, retail, manufacturing, technology, financial services, NGOs, etc. These engagements are related to consulting and enterprise application in customer relationship management, enterprise resource planning, business intelligence, and application development. He is focused on developing IPs and reusable asset of technology capabilities through innovation and collaboration in the area of digital consumer intimacy, as well as to drive automation in key areas to bring down the cost of delivery. He has authored technical papers and white papers and participated as a speaker and panelist at industry and academic events. Mr. Vishnu is an MTech in Industrial Engineering and Operation Research from IIT Bombay and B in Production Engineering from Mumbai University. I now request Vishnu sir to share his insight with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. So I've been hearing all the panelists, and I'm just trying to put forth my thoughts, and as a practitioner, as a person on the other side, enabling organizations to do things in a different way. So I thought, let me start off with saying that let's reimagine the marketing playbook itself, right? So when I look at a new playbook in the new norm, I would probably look at 6 major areas. Right? The first and foremost is the strategy and insights. I mean, and let's look at these as pillars. So when I talk about strategy and insights, right, it's about what is the brand vision. I think Mr. Chandramouli spoke in detail about the brand's positioning, how brand is important. So what are the various organizations doing today? Right? They are probably looking at things like ESG. You would have seen a lot of different organizations getting involved in social causes, in governance, as well as environmental causes. Right? So all of this is actually creating a, I would say, positive impact in the minds of the consumers, and that's how you basically influence them from a brand positioning point of view. It could be also from a mechanism of how do I create convergence between marketing and sales. I know I'm saying contrary to what Mr. Chandramouli is saying, but let me give you an example. Marketing is going to focus more and more on how do I map the customer journey? How do I look at various touch points a consumer can come and deal with my brand or deal with the product or services? The sales, while they're going to be more collaborative, they're also going to be dependent on the insights which are relevant for them to do that sale. Right? Unless the convergence doesn't happen, I'm going forward and saying that there is a convergence even with the operations team. That's why people are talking about web operations team these days, right? In an e-commerce setup, or even let's say if you go and you want to buy a used car, right? Somebody, I mean, if you want to first sell the used car, somebody will come and do an estimate. That guy is supposed to give you an estimate in real time. How does that happen? He actually looks at he takes the pictures, he sends the pictures to the operations team. The operations team is evaluating what could be the valuation of the car, and it's real time. The customer is given what would be the price. Same scenario is when a customer is going to buy the used car, right? So it's all converging. Those are some examples of what I thought was important from a strategy and insights point of view. The second thing is creatives and content. You would have noticed the popularity of tools like Snapchat, Instagram, the Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. You would see a lot of these influencers. They're doing either their own promotion or paid promotion, because these guys get paid by the brands, or they are building followers, and in a way they are creating an impression in our mind that what is good, what is bad, and how they are creating credibility. So the brand is getting extended through these influencers. There are creative. We used to have creative writers as part of marketing. Now creative writing is AI capability. The AI tools can generate a creative content depending on what a Vishnu wants or what somebody else would want. Right. The third thing is the media and channel activation. We always talked about place in marketing, but media and channel. How do I bring in cross pollination of channel as well as omni-channel experience for the customer? I might go to the website, look for some aspects. I might be there could be a chatbot which get involved on the website. The chatbot could lead to a handoff to a live agent. The live agent could schedule a test drive for me in an automobile company, or he could lead to something called as make your own bike. I mean, if you have seen Royal Enfield's about a year's back strategy, they allowed consumers to make their own bikes. They can select their engine, they can select their accessories, which was not very commonly used back then. And once they place the order, how that gets created as a production order in their SAP system and delivered through the dealer. So it's a complete integration of various channels with the, for the customer, without the customer having to tell each of those channels, that I am Vishnu or I'm somebody else, right? The fourth, and I'm not saying in the importance of that, is the customer experience and personalization, right? Everybody talks about understanding the customer persona or cohort, creating a customer journey corresponding to that cohort or persona, and how do I deal with that customer? How do I give that personalization? Now, the people talked about segmentation earlier. Now people are talking about personas, right? My needs could be very different from my dad's needs in terms of buying a vehicle or in terms of buying a TV. Am I getting the right messaging from the sales guy or from the marketing guy? Or am I being bombarded with content which I'm not going to see? Am I getting the right content which I would want to see? What content I like, what content I don't like? All of these are very, very important aspects today. And research shows, and even practical data shows that without personalization, it is very difficult. We at PwC, I think in all humbleness, I would say that we have mastered the art of doing personalized CRM implementation. Forget about telling the customer what they need to do. In terms of bringing in customer value proposition, whether it is a B2B or B2C. Just to give you an example of a healthcare, healthcare hospital chain, a large hospital chain in India, they are looking at patient cohorts, right? Not just while they're acquiring the patient, during engagement as well as post-patient care. They create cohorts and they look at how we can actually cater to their needs and whether they're coming to the hospital or they're going to some other nearby clinics or some other nearby hospitals, and understanding the needs of the patients, right? So it's a big aspect today. We are also working with a large wellness chain where we have been able to, what earlier used to take about, I'd say, half an hour work, where a consumer would come to the clinic, fill up forms, the doctor and therapist would understand the needs and then propose the right treatment. Today, they are doing it concurrently. It's all digital. But at the same time, we have patients who don't use digital technology. They come to the clinic and we enable that probably through a kiosk or through a tab, right? So, but the whole aspect is that how do we cater to different needs of various patients? The fifth one is around the measurement and MRI, marketing ROI. We really don't. I would say we would strongly believe that anything which can't be measured, right? We really can't say that it's created an impact. Whether it's a brand impact through NPS scores or customer experience score, or is it through the marketing spend which I'm doing, or is it about creating a new channel, or the technology spend which I'm putting in, creating a chatbot or virtual agent, or an e-commerce platform. All of these needs to be measured and see that how is actually positively impacting my balance sheet, right, and my bottom line. So the final one is the product and pricing. And the reason I put it in the last is that to essentially show that the marketing playbook is all about customer centricity. It's a very outside-in perspective. Today, people are changing the products and pricing. You would have recently, or maybe it's yesterday's or today's news about iPhone getting into subscription services in India. Reliance tried this about 10 years back when they launched their CDMA thing, right? It didn't work. Maybe it worked because of technology needs or because of the billing issues, it didn't work. Today, we strongly believe that this particular thing will definitely work, right? And more industrial products and discrete products will get into this subscription-based model. You would have heard about a platform called Zynga, right? Zynga is a Z Group company. It's a startup. It works on the concept of gamification, wherein they are able to let people do reverse auction, bid for the products which probably they wouldn't go to the store and buy. These are new products which they are bidding, and the lowest price basically wins. They've brought in the concept of gamification, auctions, and an app which allows them to do that, right? So having created these 6 pillars, what are the key enablers, right? First and foremost is obviously the organization design and culture. And that's why I gave the example of how do we bring the convergence for marketing, sales, and operations team. SNOP, which essentially talked about understanding demand and whether my capacity is there to cater to that. A motorcycle company which used to do about 6 months lead time of delivery. Today, they are on a theory of constraint-based demand planning. They are allowing a production order to be created from the website so that the delivery can happen at the shortest possible time. Unless we don't really think of new ways, we will be basically missed out in the market. The second is that how do we bring an agile way of working? Mr. Chandramani said that the smaller companies are able to because of their nimble footness, but that's not true anymore. The large organizations are also looking at agile way of doing things. Can they bring in, for example, the healthcare company which I'm talking about? They are actually bringing doctors as part of their consultative services, consultation, when they are dealing with the patient and giving him the right advice. They are not letting the patient come to the hospital, then understand what are the needs or who's the right doctor for them. So that's a kind of I think agility they're able to bring it. They're the large chain of hospitals, right? The third is obviously the talent and agency management. What skills I should have in-house? Today, everything marketing was always dependent on a lot of data. Today, data is not a problem. The way you collect data, process it, and analyze or store it is not a problem anymore, because the cloud has given you ample amount of compute speed and ability to be very, very, I would say, agile in that way. But do you want to have everybody in-house, or do you want to bring an external agency to work for you? How are you going to manage your outsourcing strategy there? So that is also a key enabler for them. The fourth thing is, I talked a bit about from a data and technology point of view. What is the right platform for you? Is it one platform or is it multiple platform? Mr. Chandrabal also spoke about metaverse. Is augmented reality and virtual reality are the key differentiators for us? Is it going to be relevant for the consumers whom I'm going to target? All of this would play a big role in how the entire new marketing playbook would look at. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to kind of start off with my opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thought with us.
Yeah, now we request Dr. Praful Agnihotri to share his.
First of all, I must thank all the three panelists, Mr. Burzin Shahana, Mr. Vishnu Swash, and Mr. Chandrasekhar Mouli, for sharing their excellent thoughts. My diary has become, my notepad has become richer by lots of thoughts, and allow me to use them in my deliberations subsequently. Yes, I realized it actually at the last moment that this is supposed to be a seminar for students, and therefore then I just made some slides in the morning. May I, with your permission, share my screen?
Yes, sir, go ahead. Sharing rights have been given.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Is my screen visible and the slides are visible?
Yes, sir, if you could make it full screen.
I have it.
Yes,
yeah.
That's it.
Some of these thoughts may get repeated because my esteemed speakers have already spoken on that, but I'll skip them. If there is a repetition, I'll then just skip them. There's going to be a beginning of macro and micro marketing, you know. So micro marketing looks at customers and the organizations that serve them. I made this slides at the last moment, just in the morning, okay? And a slight delay helped me finalize them. And similarly, macro takes a broad view of our whole production distribution system. It's a social process that directs economy's flow of goods and services. All this, if you see, in the new normal is going to change. Today morning, we were making our breakfast, and my son decided to have some omelette, and we realized we did not have eggs enough eggs in the refrigerator. He simply called, and by the time I could finish my first omelette, the eggs were delivered by Swiggy. This was not heard of about 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, sorry. So things are changing. What is micro marketing? Especially because I understand that there are students, and I can't forget that I always constantly wear the hat of a professor of marketing. Okay, allow me to go for some theory, and so maybe they would also feel that I've added some value to them. It applies to profit and non-profit organizations both. There's the advent of non-profit organizations also. If you see, especially in last 2 years, many organizations or many people have realized that they owe a lot to the society, and they have started lots of social organizations and donating or creating social causes and generating funds for them. So there's more. It's more than persuading customers. It begins with customers' needs. It involves exchanges, aims at building relationship with the customer, but it does not do it alone. It's done in consultation with so many other things. I remember the first micro marketing I saw was by a local shop over here of Louis Philippe and Ravai Hussein. Okay, and I've been a regular customer to them. And they said, sir, since you cannot come over here, would you mind we delivering you some brands? You can have a look at our website, identify them, and just tell us the number. We will have them delivered to your home, okay? And you can select whichever products you like. I was amazed. It was never heard of, okay, for a brand of ready-made garments. I said earlier in my opening speech, the marketing landscape is changing. Okay? And I'd given you this quote to begin with. And in new normal, this change has accelerated further. It's a digital age. Just last week, I was speaking to an IT specialist, a techie as they call him, okay? And he was saying, if the marketeers are not using AI to understand consumers' requirements, okay, and then IoT, Internet of Things, okay, then perhaps they will be missing out on most of the consumer psyche. Today, if you see, Google makes lots of use of it. Just search some of the websites, and next time you will be prompted to refer to some other websites as well. And whose websites are they prompting you to? These are definitely the websites of the persons who are paying, the organizations who are paying Google. So it's a digital age, and I prefer to call it as a building a network of experiences. So what we are seeing, web video conferencing. I'm not a techie and I dislike all these technological gadgets. Given a choice, I'll prefer to speak face to face with persons. But now it has made me, the last 2 years have made me expert in Zoom, on which I have taken most of my classes, be it for IIM Calcutta or for my current organization on Zoom. Okay? And some board meetings we have attended on some other platforms. Okay? And so this technological video conference, etc., is going to be a new normal. The classes will always be in a dual mode. So direct marketing and online advertising has become more normal. That just begun, but it has become now an established norm. Customer databases. Still, I don't know when we are going to do that, because every now and then I get lots of spam calls, okay, from various marketeers, especially if you have logged on to some portal. Like when I came back to Mumbai and I got a job in near Navi Mumbai, I was looking out for some residential accommodation in Navi Mumbai. Okay, because I live in Goregaon, and traveling from Goregaon to Navi Mumbai is a nightmare. I spend 4 hours in my car every day. Okay, and so therefore, then I decided not to go for it and continue to stay in my house in Mumbai, in Goregaon. But still, I get calls. I get calls not only from real estate developers or estate agents from Navi Mumbai area. I get calls from Khopoli. I don't know why would I go to Khopoli. What exactly is there in Khopoli because of which I would go and buy a flat? I get invitations to see commercial properties. I don't know why. This is exactly how we abuse the database. In fact, I said earlier, in the Internet of Things and AI would tell you specifically what the customer needs are. Here, I call it the machine gun theory. That is, whoever is in front of you, whether friend or foe, will get killed. Just use that database wherever you have got the name and contact number and start contacting them. Who knows? After making 100 calls, you may convert one, and that's a technique that they're using. But that is not the right technique, obviously. When we say online marketing or direct marketing, there's also something which comes simultaneously with that, absolutely synonymously with that, is permission marketing. And in India, none of them has heard anything called permission marketing. Have you sought my permission to contact me? And especially they would call me. Just now I got a call and I had to just switch it off. Okay. For calling me and a time whether it is appropriate to me. I may be busy in a meeting, or if not meeting, I may be just taking a siesta on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Why are you disturbing me? You have no right to disturb my personal space without my permission. That's what permission marketing says. Okay. So create customer database and use them wisely. And not just customer database. Use the help of a techie. Use AI. Use IoT. They are not very expensive, okay, but they will give you better results. Customer relationship management was never so important as it is. Internet is playing a great role now. Internet and Internet of Things, of course. Okay. And obviously, it's online marketing is a new mantra. From brick and mortar to click and mortar is becoming a new mantra. Online marketing is the new mantra, as I said earlier. Okay. Look at simplymarry.com. The marriages can be arranged online.
Dhanush, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think there's some problem with Dr. Praful Agnihotri's network. Just bear with us. Just a minute.
You can call him Dr. Dhanashree if you want.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I mean.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thanks. In my family, we jokingly call her, my daughter-in-law, we call her return expert. Return expert. She just orders whatever she wants, and if she doesn't like it, she returns it. So online marketing, if you see why I said this, it has also given a boost to logistics. Logistic industry has grown a lot, okay, in this last 2 years. Okay? And I don't think there's any other industry apart from pharma industry and some health related product industry which has grown so much as the logistic industry has grown. I think it has gone again. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir, very much.
Yeah, because the screen has gone off the screen, the chat box and your screens. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, there is a growth for not-for-profit marketing. Lots of social and charitable organizations have sprung up for different causes. Or we Indians, I always say charity and donation was not a great industry in India. But now we Indians have realized our need to contribute to the social causes. Okay? And lots of that it has realized, this has led to the growth of not-for-profit marketing in India. Education has changed, if you see, in last 2 years. And many students, especially actually for the first time in my life, I was teaching to undergrad courses at DY Patil. We had started some BBA course last year, and this was the first batch that they came to the campus. And I realized that these students who have come after their +2, they had never entered college before. And they would still behave as if they are in schools, because from straight away 10, they have come to FY. And last 2 years, they were sitting at home and home study. Okay. So education has undergone a lot of change. Even the students, I feel, have gone through a lot of changes, okay, with this online education. There is a lot of demographic changes. And of course, they also led to a lot of cultural and social changes. Even the family fabric has changed in last 2 years. I feel, and I don't have data to support this, but this is just my observation, that families have come closer and family bonds or ties have become stronger, okay, during this pandemic. Adversity always brings out the best, they say, and it leads to betterment in relationships. And that's what we are seeing over here. And look at the cultural and social change. Remember that, why should boys have all the fun? It has started from there. The gender diversity and gender differentiation has been minimized, and is becoming lesser and lesser. And I'm happy to say that one day both the genders would be absolutely equal in everyone's eyes in India. I'm not referring to yours and my eyes. And look at it from a marketeer's point of view. It opens a plethora of opportunities for them. One big segment emerges in front of them the moment you say that there is no gender difference and gender diversity has come down drastically in India. And naturally, marketeers are first to capture first to take advantage of this type of changes. For example, Fair and Lovely, right? But then there is also another example. What about Fair and Handsome? I told you, gender diversity, and gender diversity doesn't work only in one way. It works both ways. Even Fair and Handsome have come in the market now. It's a highly volatile market. We see diversity and convergence. I have discussed that. There is a growing affluent segment in the market. Look at the number of cars that are hitting the road every day. Number of air conditioners. I every day travel for about 75 kilometers, and I love to observe things on both the sides. And fortunately, I can take different routes. And I have seen one thing. In just last 1.5 years that I'm doing this road journey every day, okay, I have been observing one thing, that even those buildings which are converted into SRZ, slum redevelopment zones, okay, there were slums earlier, and now they have been given vertical buildings, and they are relocated over there to avoid those slums. Okay, in those buildings, have you ever observed how many number of air conditioners we find? Just check that out, and you will understand what I mean. Not by this is just an example of upwardly mobile Indian population, but generally the affluent segment is growing. We are no more a pyramid. Okay? That bottom of pyramid is gone. We are more like a prism. Okay? That base has come to the middle, and we have become a prism. Engaging customer 24/7 is a new norm. Consumer communities are developing. The example that I've quoted is the one who started these communities. HUL started the Sunsilk, the Gang of Girls community, and that way most of the Enfield has now started in India about community of Enfield lovers. Maruti Suzuki lovers have started, and so on. So the consumer communities are being developed. Okay. And many Indian brands are becoming global brands. I told you the growth of bottom of the pyramid. Okay. Many companies have taken initiatives for marketing their products in rural India. The standard of living in rural India has grown, and bottom, that pyramid, is no more pyramid, but it has become a prism. Rapid globalization. Name the brands and that are available. Few years ago, about a decade ago, we did not know many brands. We had only heard of them. But today, name the brand, and they are available, at least in the metros in India. Lastly, I would say, okay, the face of tomorrow. How is it going to look? If you see the first column represent what exactly is the scenario today. Most of the aspects I have covered in my speech so far, like explosion of technological innovation, more and more number of patents are granted. It is said that 3 new websites are born each minute. New computers get outdated in 6 months. New high-tech factories are emerging in India, and no more we are doing it with chisel and hands and a simple lathe, but even robotics. I think Mr. Burzin mentioned about robotics and how it's increasingly being used in medicine. Exactly in the same way it is being used in the factories too. Just these are a few examples. There are many examples. If we start doing brainstorming, it will come to at least about 2 dozen such examples of technological innovations. Then markets are becoming markets, and competition is becoming globalized. Okay. This is an era of deregulation. Banking, telecoms, airlines. Sometime back, some Delhi had interviewed me, and they are asking me about my views on this deregulation. I think it was Mint, if I remember right. Okay. And I said, well, this is an era of deregulation. And in my humble opinion, government has no bloody business to be in business. Okay. They are there to create an infrastructure in which the business would survive and business would thrive. Okay. So Air India got deregulated and got came out of the hands of government, and now it will be run by the most able organization in this country, namely Tata's. So I said I could not be more happy than this. So this is going to be deregulation. Very soon you will see BSNL getting divested, and you will find private players either owning it or government selling it off to someone else. Okay, so changing demographics. There is more diversity. Okay, most of the families are two-wage earner families. Okay. Increasing global workforce. The area that I live in, Goregaon, near Oberoi Mall, Oberoi, okay, I find many foreigners, Firangs, in this area, especially in the evenings or on weekends, taking a walk or taking jog or jogging somewhere. Okay. About 3 years ago, this was not the scenario. What does this all lead to? It leads to uncertainty, turbulence, and rapid change. Consumers are spoiled today with a choice. And what type of choice? We have come from an era. Remember, in good old days, in the shops, behind the cash counter, there used to be a board written. I still remember that board. It's a red color board on which in white or black, with white, they used to write, goods once sold will not be taken back. And today, we have come back. I told you, my daughter-in-law is a return expert. If you don't like it, just return it. And that has become a normal norm. No questions asked. So consumers are getting not only choices, but they are really being treated like kings. Okay. Mergers and acquisitions are taking place daily, and that's going to be a norm for the next decade as such. Joint ventures will be encouraged because we will be seeing ventures of such a big volume that a single entity would find it infeasible to manage. Okay. Product life cycles are becoming short. I bought a mobile phone. When I left IIM Calcutta, I had some allowances, and then what to do? So I bought this mobile phone S20. S20. Just in 2 years, S20 has become obsolete, and Samsung has launched S22. S22 in 2 years. So look at the impact on the sales force. The new brand, every company is under severe pressure, stress to launch new brands. Because if you don't, Apple will, LG will, Oppo will, and so on. Okay. So you got to do that. And naturally, what will you do with the earlier brand? You have to sell it off in just short span of time. And therefore, there is a heavy pressure on not only your salespersons, but also your resellers. Market gets fragmented in the process. There is more uncertainty for the market. Either you deliver or you're out. Okay. Record number of business failures at the same time. Because those who cannot cope up with all these changes, they're out of business. So companies must be fast, responsive, and adaptive to customer needs. They should not be responsive, they should be proactive. Organizations need to be flat. They should be downsized. Quality consciousness has come up in Indian business like never before. The staff has to be empowered. I always say one thing, today is an era of intrapreneurship, not intrapreneurship, intrapreneurship, INTRA. Every employee who works in an organization must work as if he is the owner of the organization and should take decisions, should take risks without waiting for his managers to give him specific instructions. Okay. Units will be smaller. I'm not saying organization, individual units will be smaller. More and more decentralization will take place without which you cannot make fast decisions. Human capital oriented companies will be there. Okay. They will understand the need of their employees. They will keep the good employees, and those who are really good, they'll care for them. Boundaryless organizations, you will find markets will be not organized, markets will be boundaryless. Okay. There is nothing like we'll stick to India only. No, more and more Indian companies will go abroad. Okay. We will develop values and vision orientation. It's not that sell it and forget it. No, we will have to invest into the customer. Sometimes we'll have to develop customers. Okay, and we'll have to handhold him till he becomes your loyal customer. And everything would be team-based, not just selling, but even manufacturing. Everything would be team-based. Okay. These are just few thoughts that I had about what would be marketing in new normal, okay, which I was just thinking of it, just little of literature review, okay, told me that. So thank you very much. This is all from my side. Any questions, we would be happy to take.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insight with us.
We request to forward the question. We request our attendees to forward the questions in chat box or ask question. It will be addressed by our panelists. From here, we are open to interaction for question and answer round.
Yeah, we would like to request even the faculties, in case anybody has questions, we are open to question and answers now.
Yeah, Zeel, you can continue your question.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is for Mr. Burzin Sahana. So, good afternoon, sir. My name is Zeel Thakkar. I am from PGDM batch, Division B. So, my question to you is, um, according to me, doctors can't be replaced with any device, that is physical or digital. What new telemedicine should make attempts to fill the gap?
You are right, Jill. Doctors cannot be replaced. But the way doctor-patient interface happens is getting replaced from physical to a more hybrid of physical and digital, both in consultation and in surgery. In earlier times, it used to be face-to-face, more in person, both the consultation and the surgery. Today, you have robotic surgeries, which you can do where a patient is at one location and surgeon is at another location, operating on the patient through a robot. And in physical consultation, or you can have patients sitting at home, showing the x-rays through apps. You need not send the x-ray physically to a doctor. You don't need to send digital pathology labs. Everything is available online. So the brain behind the treatment is the surgeon or the doctor. That will never change. The interface between the patient and the doctor will change. And that opens up significant amount of opportunity for a doctor sitting in one location. He can have patients whom he can consult globally. Earlier, the patient had to physically wait in the doctor's chamber, take an appointment, doctors were booked, and then doctor would consult only for a particular time. Today, many hospitals are giving you opportunity to consult the best doctor in 15 minutes time through the apps. So the entire way in which the patient and the doctor interface happens has changed. Hope that answers some of your questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, next question will be taken.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to ask the question to Vishnu Swash, sir. Sir, how do we bring cross-pollination and omni-channel in service marketing?
Okay, I think it's a very good question. So I'll give you an example of PwC selling services, right? And I'll also probably give you an example of how a financial service is done. So earlier we would go and look at what opportunities a customer might have or a client might have, do a presentation, and then create an opportunity, and then try to position our solution there. Today, last 2 years, we have been doing events, right? But the events are not just doing a solution presentation. These are discussion, conversations, stories being discussed with specific set of prospect clients, or it could be with Microsoft, SAP, or Salesforce, bring in their experience. And through this event-based thing, we also try to get insights. So today, teams would also have mechanisms to run your, I would say, polls, run your attendee events, taking insights from them, what is going well. So all of this is very real-time person. I'll give you another example. We are working with this large insurance company, global insurance company called Swiss Re, wherein they primarily deal with renewal thing, right? Renewal is their main business. So which is for both B2B and B2C. For their entire B2B marketing, it's completely online. They use Teams. As part of Teams, there are features wherein you can actually take polls, audience polls. You can gauge interest of the people. Within those teams, you can actually convert them into, I would say, leads, wherein a chatbot would start interacting with them, or a virtual agent will start interacting with them about their needs. Then it will get handed off to a live agent who would take further requirements. And then it could be, I would say, through a commerce portal, they would book the premium, right? Or it could be through any payment gateway. So there are ways and mechanisms to actually do this stuff. Does that answer your question with these two examples?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Karishma Patil, you can ask your question now.
Yes. My name is Karishma Patil, and my question is that in the current situation of COVID, health and wellness has gained a prime importance. So, part intact.
Karishma, your voice is not clear. Himani, you can take over. You can ask your question now.
Yes. So my question is for Vishnu sir. Good afternoon, sir. Myself Himani. My question is, sir, how do we create customer persona in different sectors like FMCG, or it be any sector with respect to our brand? That's my.
Yeah, this question was for me, right? Yeah, okay. So very good question. In terms of understanding, how do we identify and define new personas? And I think that's the most challenging aspect, right? Earlier, when we were talking about segments, segment used to be a group of people showing similar demographic or needs. When you come to personas and cohorts, you kind of stretch that a bit and say that you also want to look at what life cycle journey they are in, what are the needs they carry. It need not be just the demographic, qualitative and just quantitative data, right? Now, we have done some examples for auto industry. We have done some examples for financial services, specifically insurance. We have done B2B for a large consumer durable company which are into water purifiers. The way to go about is obviously to understand both prospects, your customers who have not come to you, customers who have come to you, customers who are with you, who have left the company and are working with your competition. So it is basically that large universe, right? And we go about doing these needs assessment. We call it something called as the design thinking based ethnographic study of people, wherein we are trying to see that what is making them stick to a brand or go to some other brand, or what has made them to come to a particular company and why they didn't come for a particular. It need not be just a pricing decision, right? So all of these put together, we look at various parameters which are relevant from what we want to achieve, whether it's about increasing sales, or is it about increasing customer experience, or is it about increasing market share. And we look at what are those parameters which would have a significant contribution to the outcome which we want to drive. Everything is basically outcome driven. Then we'll shortlist those parameters. Based on those parameters, we define behaviors which a particular persona or cohort show. And then we are creating rule-based. The starting point is always a rule-based thing, saying that if a Vishnu Swash is of particular age, his needs are X, he is currently using Y, and what is his potential to buy more, or what could be the lifetime value which he can demonstrate. Based on that, he will be put on a particular cohort. For that cohort, there is a customer journey which is drafted. Those customer journey would be translated into both sales and service framework. Now, over a period of time, we use technology to collect more information about Vishnu's transactions, Vishnu's interactions on social media, Vishnu's interactions with the sales team, Vishnu's interaction on various channels. And then we create an AI model. The AI model is nothing but a machine learning model based on classification algorithm. And then we start classifying Vishnu and start predicting these personas, so that the people who are engaged, whether marketing, sales, or service, they have the right inputs to show the right behavior with Vishnu. So I'm just trying to, in a nutshell, tell you how's this entire thing done, but it's a quite an elaborate science at this point of time.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mani. Thank you, sir. Karishma, you can ask the question now. If your network is stable, you can turn off your video if you
Yes.
want.
Am I
Go
audible
ahead,
now?
Karishma. Yeah, you are audible.
Yes. So my question is to Buzin sir that in the current situation of COVID, importance. So what should pharmaceutical companies can do as a part of CSR to keep the mental and emotional part intact?
Wow, that's a very good question, and thanks for asking it. Today, being in healthcare, it's a very, very noble profession in which we are, because we come to office every day to reduce the disease burden. And it gives us tremendous amount of happiness that in a very small way, we are able to contribute to the large society. Most pharma organizations, be it Indian or multinationals, we have a lot of initiatives that move in the society in around alleviating the disease burden. And this is not just pre-COVID, it's actually been there for a very long time. And it's not just because we are mandated to do CSR, it is because we genuinely believe that there is a lot to be done in a country like India and around the world, be it in the space of tuberculosis, be it in the space of mental health, be it in the space of any communicable disease, because the disease burden is extremely high. And most organizations have programs which run around alleviating the burden of disease. And it is done voluntarily. It is done with the objective to really make benefit and make good to the society. So this is something which we are all very passionate about. We do a lot of work around this. In particular, in my area, we support a lot of charity cataract surgeries that take place. For many times, we associate with a lot of partners who save sight for children, and this is something which is very close to our heart, and we believe this is something that needs to be done by everybody, not just by pharma companies.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Karishma. Imrana, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Millie. I have a question to Professor Prafulla Agnihotri. So if you can put some light on machine gun theory.
Machine gun theory, there is no theory called machine gun theory. I just use the word, saying that once you have the database of customers, like how do you generate database? I had filled up my details I had made a mistake of blunder of filling up my details and my mobile number on websites for real estate. Now, if you see all real estate websites, be it Loda or be it Ustumji, do not divulge their details of their project unless you have filled in your details like mobile number and email ID. Okay. And then they make you click on something okay, without which you can't proceed further. Okay. So no choice is given to the customer. Whether I want to give my mobile number or not, you have no choice. If you want to know details, you have to fill in those details. And when you give those details, actually I have given those details on a particular website or on a particular app for a particular seller. So there is a tacit agreement between him and me that I have given these details to him. But what he does and what happens in India, unfortunately, in certain sectors where there is no professionalism, they sell all these names and contact numbers. And then you start getting calls from anyone and everyone. Okay? Without checking whether the person is really interested or not. Okay? Why would I be interested in some property in Khopoli where I have nothing to do with Khopoli? I have never been to Khopoli even before. I have never shown an interest in Khopoli. Okay? So another example I'll give you, Shadi.com. I used to get emails from Shadi.com. Hi Prafulla, made for you. I'm married, my son is married, I'm likely to become a grandfather very soon. And why made for me? You know, once by mistake I clicked on open and offers were really tempting. But then I realized my wife, if my wife looks at it, you can imagine what would happen. This is what I call as machine gun theory or AK-47 theory. Once you have the database names and contact numbers and email ID, just send it to everyone without verifying whether the person concerned fits into our target market definition or not. Just send it to them. If you have sent 1,000 emails, at least 2 will click. That's the logic, which is not correct. And especially when you have artificial intelligence and when you have Internet of Things available to you, invest little bit into it. What we used to call in good old days as CRM, customer relationship marketing or management. Okay, you just do that. Actually, later on, I happened to meet Sanjeev Bikchandani, the owner of Shadi.com. He's an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad. And I told him, yeah, come on, let's do something. Please do something about me. Okay. Otherwise, my wife will divorce me. And then that email stopped getting it. Otherwise, I had to put it in spam and then they would go to spam or I would not get them. But to avoid that, okay, the basic this methodology is that send it to anyone and everyone in your database without verifying whether the person fits into your target market definition or not is what I call as machine gun theory. Like a machine gun, a machine gun is different from a snapper gun. The snapper gun will hit a particular point and exactly hit at that. What we require is a snapper gun strategy. And machine gun is tack, 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 tack. Whoever comes in front of it will get killed. Okay. Not that way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We surely get the idea of machine gun theory. So those were really an intuitive Q&A session. Thank you everyone for being a part of it.
Thank you all the attendees for asking questions, and thank you all the panelists for answering them one by one. Now, I would respect HOD Marketing, Dr. Chandrasekhar Kaushik, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nilay. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. This is the most important part of any conclave, and I will definitely ensure to keep it short. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our guest of honor and the keynote speaker, Dr. Prafulla Agnihotri, who is the Dean of Vijay Patil School of Management, for sharing his thoughts on micro and macro marketing, building a network of experiences through digital age, and of course, your innovative machine gun theory. It has definitely enriched our students' minds, sir. We are grateful to our speakers. First of all, Mr. Chandramouli, due to his prior commitments, he is not there here right now, but he has spoken very good about the difference between sales and marketing, especially marketing related to the spiritual guru and sales related to the financial guru. His thoughts about change is inevitable was highly enlightening. My special thanks to Mr. Burzan Shahana, the country manager, India and South Asia, Johnson & Johnson Surgical Vision India Private Limited, for his insights on health and wellness. How do we live and how do we think? Especially his his saying of "Jaan hai to jahan hai," AI, 5G. In the current situation and in the future of what the world is going, he has given very good insights. These would be of our use to our students also. We are grateful to Mr. Vishnu Swash for sharing his views on personalization, importance of right contents, product and pricing aspects, and especially his thoughts on customer centricity, and of course his new marketing playbook. Of course, we would get much more about whatever you have delivered, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Ashok Sarafji, Chairman, Dr. C. Babu, Director, DSIMS, Dr. Sarita Vichori, Director, DSGS, all our colleagues for helping and supporting us. Our special thanks to Dr. Dhanashri Pote, who is the convener of Touge 2022. Our thanks are also due to the Marcom team, Mr. Kamal Bhaktani and Mr. Vikas Ahuja, for promoting Touge 2022. We also thank our administration department, who is headed by Mr. Shetty, Ms. Kavita Darji, registrars of DSIMS and DSGS. We would also thank our IT support team, especially Mr. Ranjit Goraksha and Mr. Sopan Salvi for connecting all of us digitally. Last but not the least, I thank the student team, particularly Namrata, Zishan, Imrana, Millie, Dylan, Nidhi, Neelay, Dhaval, Neel, Vedant, and Bhargav for their handwork in making Touge 2022 a grand success. My heartfelt thanks to those whose names I have not taken but have contributed for Touge 2022. Thank you. Over to Millie.
Thank you so much, sir. With that, we come to the end of our marketing conclave and discussion about reimagining marketing in the new normal, challenges, strategies, and solutions.
We would like to thank all the panelists and all the attendees for such a big patient audience. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very well done, team Touge. Congratulations.
Thank you,
madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations, team Touge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks a lot to all of you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.